Hello my fellow hirelings of House Telvanni, I'm Neloth, and Starfield is just around the corner, and it is a game that both excites and scares the living crap out of me. I've been trying to get prepared for Starfield by playing games like The Outer Worlds, and also watching the Starfield Direct video again to refresh my memory and look at things that I probably have missed. My feelings on this game are so far pretty positive. I felt that the deep dive was very informative and alleviated a number of concerns that players had with the game, and seeing a return to RPG dialogue systems and mechanics, as well as skill systems, has me very excited, and my mind is now flowing with future video ideas, if the game is good, of course. However, there are some concerns that myself and others have, like the procedural generation and the fear that the game may feel rather lifeless, similar to Fallout 76 when it released. Those possibilities still terrify me so much. And also, when Todd Howard said that Starfield is going to be like 5 games in one, also scares the living shit out of me because, well, if we've learned anything from games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla, it's that when you make a game for everyone, that game ends up really being made for no one, and that scares the hell out of me that Starfield might turn into that and become, well, not really fun. So, I wanted to do what every other Bethesda YouTuber has done and give my thoughts on Starfield and talk about some highlights that were shown in the deep dive. So first, the character creation looks pretty good. I don't think Bethesda has ever really screwed this part up. The only thing I dislike is how patchy the beards look. I don't like seeing every weird strand of hair, but many other games have this issue, so I don't really see it as problematic, and it's also very inconsequential to the rest of the game. But what I really like about the character creation are the backgrounds and traits. Being able to pick a background that roughly goes with the backstory you made for your character just expands role-playing possibilities, and that is something I absolutely love and adore. In Skyrim, if I wanted to make a chef or a bandit character, sure, I could dress the part and use the right gear, but nobody is ever going to treat me as such. But in Starfield, it seems like they will. Although how deep this background concept goes is really up for debate. Will it be only brought up twice at the beginning and maybe in the middle and that's about it? Or will it casually be brought up every once in a while in the main quests and in the side quests? It's not like I want to see it every goddamn 5 seconds. I don't want only people referring to me as a chef and the entire game becomes a chef simulator, but I would like to see it brought up occasionally. I do also hope that I can have a blank background if none of the other backgrounds suit whatever the hell character I'm trying to make. And I also hope that with the backgrounds, those starting skills that we see, I hope they don't play a big deal for the rest of the game, in case I want to be like a chef, but there's a specific skill, starting skill, that I just don't really like. The skill and level system doesn't really seem to be that unique, at least from what I saw in the deep dive. From how it's explained, it seems to be the exact same as Fallout 4's system, but with the added challenges you need to unlock the abilities to level up. I think this will be nice, and it will add a little bit of Skyrim to this Fallout 4 system with actually doing things to level up, instead of putting a ton of points into Heavy Gunner, knowing damn well you won't really be using Heavy Gunner that much because, God, it's such a waste of ammo, and I've only ever used pistols, rifles, and melee weapons, and never Heavy Gunner, but I'm rambling, you get the point. But speaking of skills, we also have the trait system, which is very reminiscent of Fallout New Vegas. Although I feel like Starfield's traits are going to be a lot more worth it than Fallout New Vegas's traits were. Being able to have an adoring fan, worship a serpent god, and also support my fucking parents is so hilariously awesome and something I will absolutely do, and it will make replayability all the more enticing for this game, which is an absolute yes in my book. The approach to combat, as shown in the deep dive, additionally seems reminiscent of Fallout 4 as well, but with the addition of jetpacks, which are something I really like. There were jetpacks in Fallout 4, but it was always in the super late endgame and was not very maneuverable, so I like the idea of seeing it here, in space. I am concerned, however, with how many fully automatic weapons they had in the deep dive. In Fallout 4, I never used fully automatics because ammo was always so hard to come by, and it seemed wasteful to use it on a fully automatic instead of a semi-automatic. So hopefully there will be both more ammo in the game and also more semi-automatics in the game as well, because, well, I'm a sucker for either being a melee character, a gunslinger, or a sniper, and never really deviating from those three playstyles. I also wished that they would have showcased more melee weapons and perhaps some unarmed weapons that weren't just my fists as well. So I do hope those will be in the game, especially because I do love me some melee builds in the Fallout games, as I find them to be very fun and challenging, and I would love to replicate my Fallout 4 melee builds and put it into Starfield. Now, with exploration and cities, I am still very largely concerned. The procedurally generated worlds is one that people have discussed a lot, but something I really haven't seen anyone talk about is how NPCs will work in the cities that we will explore. Looking at some of the cities in Starfield, it seems like that they are going with a cyberpunk-like world where most NPCs will be static and not interactable. This isn't a problem necessarily, as games like The Witcher and Outer Worlds do this rather well, but I feel like we will miss the magic Bethesda had in games like Skyrim and Oblivion, where almost every citizen had a name and a life, which made the games more vibrant and the cities just feel like a home more than anything. The Fallout games had also done the same thing with NPCs, but again, I always preferred Skyrim's smaller cities with dynamic populations to bigger cities where you really could only interact with so few people and everyone else was just named citizen of this city or vagrant or some shit. It didn't really feel that dynamic. Again, this isn't a deal breaker, obviously, but it's something I will miss and I wanted to bring up in this video. Now, the procedural generation, which is something a lot more people have discussed, still scares the shit out of me because when I think of procedural generation, I personally think of games like Minecraft. For me personally, I always had bad luck spawning in Minecraft worlds and finding the overworld to be rather bland and ununique, and I won't be able to find the cooler biomes like jungles and such, and yet my friends will always come across jungle temples and even rarer events, so I always felt like I missed out, and I feel like I will get the same thing with the procedural generations. Now, maybe I'm rambling, but I believe that certain events in the game and locations will also be procedurally generated in the world. And a big fear is that some players will only receive boring generated worlds and events, while others will have a better experience with more interesting things to come across. I get that Bethesda wants everyone to have a different story to tell, but I feel like that concept will prove fruitless if one person's experience is better than another person's experience just because of luck of the draw. With the idea of exploration in mind and going on desolate planets, outposts will be a mechanic that we can utilize, which is fine, but I am curious as to how big of a part the outposts will play when it comes to questing. When I first played Fallout 4, I absolutely loved the settlement system, and I spent hours creating buildings and fortifying walls just to make my town exactly how I wanted it to be. I even remember making a city in the Starlight Drive-In, and I called it Starlight City, with robot guards patrolling and everything. But after my fourth playthrough of the game, the whole mechanic became fucking tedious and was frustrating, especially when dealing with the Minutemen, a faction I can't actually destroy no matter what I do, and their quests will just fill up in my quest log with no hope of being removed aside from completing them. I don't mind the outposts, but hopefully it won't be a mechanic that evolves into a chore. I also hope this settlement outpost mechanic isn't going to be attached to the main quest of Starfield as well. Additionally, I hope the settlement system won't be super prevalent in Elder Scrolls 6 whenever the fuck that releases, with the exception of maybe a more in-depth stronghold system like Morrowind had. And the last thing I'll say about the outposts is, I hope that if I have an outpost on a barren planet pretty out of the way of everything else, I hope traveling to and from that location won't be tedious. Hopefully I can just fast travel from planets instead of manually landing on a planet with my starship, because if that's the case, I may want to bash my head into a falling chandelier. Speaking of starships, the ship system is really interesting to me. However, I am more interested in it because it kind of reminds me of Black Flag, and I can easily see ships and shipbuilding being a thing in the Elder Scrolls 6, but, you know, at sea and not space. This isn't Coda, okay? The whole shipbuilding system seems very interesting. I just hope it's not going to be too complicated after seeing its 17 goddamn parts. And I also hope the upgrading system isn't as tedious and boring as it is to file my goddamn taxes. Hopefully the whole ship combat stuff feels as engaging and fun as it was in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And I also wonder if there are consequences for boarding certain ships. I also wonder if we can raid massive military cruisers and even military space stations as well. Now, the main thing that got me invested in the ship mechanic in Starfield isn't because I'm a big like NASA spaceship guy. I don't really care about space combat. But what I did like was how someone briefly mentioned being able to do some smuggling. As someone who has always wanted to be a Skooma dealer in the Elder Scrolls, the idea of becoming a Han Solo and smuggling illegal artifacts or drugs just sounds absolutely thrilling and possibly lucrative. I may also want to give some of my smuggle money to my loving parents from the fucking trait system. However, it is going to be debatable if the smuggling system is actually a thing in Starfield, or if it's actually going to be this thing that I can really utilize and is fun to do. Maybe it was Bethesda just throwing shit at the wall hoping to get us excited because, well, I have to be honest, Bethesda has lied before, so they could be lying about this. They never showcased it, it was just a one-off thing, so it might be possible. Also, speaking of Bethesda, when they talked about hiring your own crew for your ship, I am 99% sure your crew is just your companions you find in your travel, that you can assign to either your ship or an outpost or whatever hovel they live in, similar to Fallout 4 except more in-depth. Speaking of companions, I'm not really that impressed with who we've seen so far as a companion. With the exception of the cowboy and Vasco the robot, everyone else kind of blends together in a bland NASA punk theme they have going on. However, I do really hope I am wrong and they will be as well written as Fallout New Vegas companions. Now, this may be a hot take, but I do hope that there isn't a strong affinity system like there was in Fallout 4. I always felt when I was traveling with a specific companion in that game that I had to play it all completely differently than I wanted to, and I had to bend over backwards just to make motherfucking Preston Garvey happy with me so I could get his OP perk. This is why I prefer companions in Skyrim and building robot companions in Fallout 4, as they never really bitched and complained when I didn't do something exactly as they wanted. So to summarize the things I'm liking about Starfield, as so far at least, I am rather excited for the potential role-playing we can do with the new skills and traits, and I really can't wait to play as a Western gunslinging bounty hunter who gives some of his bounty money to his parents and also has an adoring fan that tags along as well. The combat in Starfield also looks to be rather fun, and I like the jetpacks and how they give us an additional way to approach combat. I just hope there will be more melee weapons in the game, and also more customization for those melee weapons similar to the guns. Space combat could also be rather fun if we are given the real freedom to do what we want instead of being restricted. If this system goes well, I would love to see it in Elder Scrolls 6, and I can be the captain of my own little pirate ship or something. Now, to sum up the things I don't like or am currently skeptical on, I would definitely say that the procedural generation is one. I think everyone and their parents would rather play in a handcrafted world rather than one created by a computer. Even if the procedural generation is spectacular in Starfield, I really don't want to see it implemented in The Elder Scrolls 6, as I would prefer detail, and I don't really give a shit, honestly, if someone has the same experience as someone else. I just want to have fun, honestly. Now, the outpost system could be good, but I fear it will be the same as Fallout 4, where if I play Starfield after 4 playthroughs, the whole outpost system will get old and I will start to grow bitter and just hate the entire system. The companions don't really seem that impressive as well, however, I am absolutely expecting to be wrong on this, so, let's hope I'm fucking wrong as hell. I also hope that there won't be a strong affinity system and companions could behave how they do in Knights of the Old Republic or Outer Worlds instead, and care more about major actions as opposed to if I gave Sheffield a bottle of fucking Nuka-Cola or not. Now, as I said in the beginning, Starfield both excites and scares the shit out of me. I just really hope there will be a great deal of role-playing capabilities, as I would love to make a ton of builds on Starfield, and continuing my channel with primarily Elder Scrolls content, but with a side of Starfield as well. And I hope there will be a lot of freedom for me to be who I truly want to be and play however I want. If I want to be a religious zealot or a lighthearted explorer, then let me. If I want to play a mass-murdering psychopath, I expect Bethesda to let me do that as well. And that's all I wrote, a video where I talk about Starfield and my thoughts on the game, something every goddamn Bethesda-esque YouTuber has done already. So, with that being said, make sure to like the like button, like the subscribe button, and like the bell notification down below to be updated on future videos. And I will see you whenever the fuck I decide to upload again. House Telvanni be with you.
Please, O hero of Skyrim, I shall be ever so grateful.